Secret number 2. You can't mimic exhilaration. What are you passionate about? My husband is a natural athlete. I am not. When I first met my husband, he was spending all of his free time conditioning for Ironman triathlons. Now, an Ironman is a 2.6-mile swim, followed by a 112-mile bike ride, followed by a 26.2-mile marathon. So you can imagine if you're conditioning yourself for something, you're either swimming or biking or running for most of your free time. So I thought I was going to spend more time with him during the day by working out with him. So I had 3 choices, right? I could either put on a swimsuit or strap on a helmet and some of those funny spandex biking pants, or I could lace up my tennis shoes. Well, I chose the tennis shoes. Well, my husband turned out to be a wonderful coach, and he was very enthusiastic about me wanting to run with him. And of course, being the overachievers that we were, I couldn't just run for the sake of running. I had to work toward a marathon, right? So he taught me everything he knew about running. He taught me how to breathe right while I was running. He taught me how to pace myself so that I would have the endurance for a long-distance run. He taught me how to build a schedule that had incrementally a little bit more and more distance each week so that by the time of the marathon that I would be ready to run that distance on that day. And at first it was fun. I really got to be good. I found myself running happily along beside him in the trails and on the sidewalks, and I actually got to the point where I could run up to 10 miles with no fatigue. And for all intents and purposes, I was a runner. But there was one thing that always bothered me about these runs that I couldn't quite figure out. And that was every time we would go on a run, even long runs, when we got home, my husband would be exhilarated. He would be filled with energy. He would be beaming from the inside out, and he'd be ready to tackle the world. And I felt a sense of accomplishment, but I was exhausted. I mean, I was ready to check off my list of things to do for the day and curl up on the couch and rub my legs, and I just couldn't figure out how could spending that much energy fill him with energy. After 5 years and 2 marathons, the truth is I had gotten good at something that I didn't want to do. One day I decided to go to our local fitness center and drop in on a yoga class. Now, I didn't know anything about yoga or very much about it. I thought it had something to do with meditation and chanting some syllables that I didn't know what I would be doing, and relaxation. But I guess I thought I would connect with my inner runner there or something. But when I got into the class, it was completely different than what I thought it was going to be. It was a head-to-toe challenge that involved flexibility and strength and yes, some relaxation, and also bending and stretching and balancing, and I loved it. I took to it right away. Even during the class, it was like I had been doing it for a long time, and I absolutely loved it. And as soon as I walked out of the class, I realized that I had found my thing. I was exhausted. I was already a little bit sore, but I was also exhilarated. And I just realized that all that time I had been trying to mimic the exhilaration that my husband had felt. And I realized that exhilaration isn't something you can mimic. Exhilaration comes from connecting with what is you are authentically passionate about. Author Mark Albion has a wonderful quote in his book, More Than Money, and he says, "What did you want to be before the world should on you?" You know what he means, like you should go into accounting, you should be a dentist, you should stay on the farm, you should be a police officer like your father and your grandfather and all of your uncles. And these are wonderful professions. There's nothing wrong with them, but if they don't connect with what your deepest desires are, or Albion suggests that it's easy to slide into a career that match your skill set, but not your deepest desires. And when you get good at something you don't want to do, it's like dying a little bit each day. It's like your soul is getting sucked out of you. And the worst thing about it is that it takes time to realize what's going on. So my challenge to you today is, have you been going down a path for years or miles that's leaving you exhausted instead of exhilarated? Or thinking about it in a more positive way, what do you do that leaves you exhausted and exhilarated at the same time? What's that? Think about what that is, because if you can connect with that and the alarm clock goes off in the morning and your feet hit the ground and you can't wait to go in, that's what you should be doing.